A song can start anywhere. It's not really about where a song starts, it's what you do with it next, where the real interesting songwriting stuff happens. There are 3 distinct stages in the songwriting process, and the logistics of how best to organize your ideas will really depend where your song is in those different stages. The first stage of the songwriting process is really capturing your ideas as they happen. It's such a shame when you have a great melody idea, no way to capture it, and you think, I'll remember that in an hour from now. You know, if it's good enough, I'll remember it. We don't want to rely on our memory to remember it an hour from now. We want to capture it now. So everyone is going to have a hot opinion about which is the best app or notebook to keep, store, and access your song ideas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I use, explain why I use these things. And also the app of choice for me has recently changed, and I'll explain what I used to use, why I changed, and what I use now. My system for capturing song ideas has 3 components to it. So the first component is my app of choice inside the iPhone, where I will collect and organize lyric ideas and other kinds of ideas. I also use the simple voice memo app really for capturing sonic ideas, melodies, chord progressions, sounds out in the world, that sort of thing. And I also use a paper journal. So those are the 3 vehicles I use for capturing ideas. Let's talk about apps, because everyone wants to know what is the best app, what is the best app. And there are actually lots of apps out there that are designed and marketed to songwriters, but I'm going to suggest to you that it's not really about the specific app. It's really about 3 fundamental principles that whatever app you choose needs to have. So the first one is simply that it just needs to be fast. I cannot handle apps where you have to open the app, sign into the app, open a folder, go into a subfolder within the folder, go into that, scroll, and then finally you're allowed to capture an idea inside the app. I want it to be fast. The other criteria for the app is that it must be able to handle multimedia. And this is really important because we need an app that can easily handle not just text, but also contain audio in a really logical, easy way in the same note. And for a lot of people, we'll also be capturing ideas through video. So again, when I'm working on guitar, sometimes there are very specific voicings or shapes on my instrument, and the best way for me to capture it is a quick video recording of myself playing that. So whatever app you choose needs to be able to handle and store multimedia files. And the third and final criteria for whatever app you choose is that it needs to be easily accessible. And by that I mean accessible on multiple devices and in multiple locations. So we ultimately want something that is web-based or is connected through a cloud service. I used to use an app called Evernote, and it's one of the biggest, most popular note-taking apps. I think it's really beautifully suited to songwriters because the notes in Evernote can capture text and voice notes all in the same app with really easy functionality. You don't have to record audio separately and then import it into the note. I love that about Evernote. The reason I stopped using Evernote is because I pretty quickly hit my note limit on the free plan, and I have to be totally transparent with you. When it came time to upgrade to the paid service, I actually found the pricing kind of excessive, especially when there are some free available alternatives. And especially if you're an iPhone and Apple user, the viable free alternatives really mean that the cost of a subscription to something like Evernote, I just can't at the moment quite justify it for myself. But I do really love their product. I use Apple Notes now, and it really fulfills all of those criteria. The only extra step that I need to do in this system is I do need to share my voice memos to Apple Notes. I can't open an Apple Note and just record audio straight into the Apple Note. The other upside of Apple Notes is that it's really good at handling video files. So again, if you are trying to capture your chord voicings as part of your songwriting process, it's really helpful to be able to put video into your notes, and Apple Notes stores it beautifully. And a lot of the other apps have a lot of storage limits that are prohibitive if that's part of your workflow. So Apple Notes. In addition to Apple Notes and voice memos, which are really the 2 apps on the phone that I use to capture and organize ideas, I also use a single paper songwriting journal where I will develop ideas for the most part. So I am rarely capturing ideas inside a paper journal, but when it comes time to fleshing out ideas, really wanting to do some free writing or sense writing or lyric development, often pen to paper is the best way. So I will use a paper notebook for that. Whatever app you do use to capture your ideas, it's really important to have a system for organizing your ideas. And that's really important so that when you come back to your ideas, it's not just an anonymous, random scrolling list of notes that have no titles or descriptions or ways that you have categorized them. So it helps make your songwriting sessions more efficient and more creative and more productive when you're not having to search for random notes that you took 2 months ago. So that's why we want a bit of a system of organization. So here is how I organize my songwriting ideas, and I would recommend something similar, but something that is really based for you on your understanding of the types of ideas that you collect. So here are the folders within my songwriting folder in Apple Notes. Here are the different notes within my songwriting folder that represent the different kinds of ideas that I'm likely to capture. So I have lines, titles, melodies, chords, sounds. I also have techniques and guitar ideas. So let me talk about these different kinds of ideas and why I capture them in separate notes. So lines are really lines of lyric, and these can just be random snippets and fragments of interesting sentences, lines, images, words, word combinations that just sound interesting together. The whole idea here is I'm going to capture things in this note when it's a cool lyric fragment that is not necessarily attached to any bigger song idea. So it might be a cool rhyme pair. It might be something I overhear someone say. It might be a news headline. Very frequently, I will take lines from books and novels that I'm reading and just put them there. Often when it's something like that, I will also add to the note the book and the author where I took it from so that I know to rework it in some way if I do want to borrow the image or some aspect of the language that I am using from a reference source. Interestingly, I keep a completely different note for titles, and this is a very common practice among professional songwriters to keep a title book or note totally separate from other types of lyrics. A title is something that not only expresses a core feeling, image, metaphor, emotion, or idea or message, but that you can also feel within that title that it has the DNA to become many different things. You can envision how you could approach this title from many different angles, whether that's many different kinds of stories that could adhere themselves to this title, or within one story or one memory or experience, that there's still multiple angles that you could approach this one phrase from. That's when you know that something has the potential as a song title, not just as another line of lyric inside your song. Then we have melody ideas, and that's relatively self-evident. So there's all sorts of different kinds of melody ideas, but for the most part, this is where I collect those fragments of melody ideas as they come, when again, they're sort of unattached to a specific song. They're just little fragments of melody ideas. I keep a separate note for chord ideas. So again, this expresses all these different ways that a song can start. And it's funny, right? Because a lot of the time, as songwriters, a question that you will naturally receive from non-songwriters is, do you start with the lyrics or the music? And the answer is yes, all of the above. A song can start anywhere. It's not really about where a song starts. It's what you do with it next, where the real interesting songwriting stuff happens. But what you can see from these different folders is all the different ways that a song might actually start, and all the different sorts of ideas and inspirations that we can be attuned to. And when we actually have a system for capturing those different kinds of ideas, it might even make it easier for us to pay attention to when those ideas arise. So I have a separate note for chords, which might just be chord progressions I come up with noodling on the guitar or the piano. It might also be from listening to other songs and learning chord progressions from other people's songs, where I will record those chord progressions for myself. I also keep a sounds folder, and this might be particular to me, but it's a good indication of the kind of folder that you might keep if there's some other type of idea that you have identified is itself a type of idea, and it's helpful to separate it from the other types of ideas. I get quite inspired by different sorts of sounds, and typically what that means for me is it might be a sound design feature in a film or a TV show. It's not a song or a piece of music necessarily, it's sort of a particular sonic texture that I hear and I sort of want to use that sonic texture in some particular way. It might be, the use of breath as a percussive instrument. So I will collect different production ideas or different sounds, different sonic textures, and for me that's a distinct type of starting place or song seed than any of these other notes or folders. So that's why I keep it as its own separate file there. I also keep a folder called Techniques, which is really about trying particular songwriting moves. So for example, starting with a chorus, starting with a half chorus, using a pre-chorus the first time, skipping it the second time, and using it as a bridge. So a lot of these ideas might come from my own listening to other people's songs and my own analysis or observation of other songs. And it's this moment of going, oh, I love the way that they did this thing. I might use that thing too. So it's not specific about a chord progression or a mode or an instrument. It's really about the move, the technique, the thing about the songwriting that is interesting. These folders for me truly represent the different kinds of song seeds that I'm likely to capture in a moment. And what I'll often do is just capture it as a quick note and then put it inside one of these notes. I have other subfolders inside my songwriting ideas folder. One of the folders is a distinct folder for sense writing. Sense writing is a practice that I do regularly, and I do it in lots of different places, to be honest, but when I'm doing it on a computer, I will do it inside here, or at the very least, I will copy and paste it immediately into this sense writing folder. So I keep that in there as well. I also keep a folder called Songs to Analyze. When I hear a song and I think, oh, there's something really special about that I want to come back to, I will capture it there and then really come back to that as a catalyst to closely listen to the songs that have piqued my interest for some reason. And I know that there's something in that song that I want to use in my own songwriting. So this to me is a way to remind myself what those songs are and a place for me to actually put my notes and my analysis as I'm listening to those songs. And finally, I have a folder called Song Ideas. So this is distinct from lines and titles because there are some times when a song idea will come to me and probably to you in a more fleshed out way. So it's not just a fragment of a lyric, it's not just a title, but it might actually be a title with a story. So you find a title and you know exactly what the experience, memory, moment, situation, scenario, character setting, whatever it is, it comes to you. You have an idea of what this song is going to be about. So I capture them in this distinct folder because even the idea itself is slightly more developed, slightly more fleshed out. So I'm going to talk a bit more about this Song Ideas folder in a moment, but really this is a repository for song ideas that have a little bit more meat on the bones, and ultimately a place where I come to then develop ideas beyond that initial fragment of a song seed. Stage 2 in the songwriting process is developing ideas. And this is when getting off a smartphone and getting into a slightly literally larger platform can be really helpful, because we want to be able to edit things on the fly, to see things right next to each other, to cut and paste, to delete things, to undo the delete, all of that good stuff. I often will do off the iPhone. I know there are some songwriters who are perfectly happy to do it all on an iPhone. That's not me. So when I am developing song ideas, I will do it inside the Song Ideas folder. And this is really my workstation. It's really my workshop for a song as I am developing and working on a song. So when I am developing and working on a song, I will keep the lyrics, as they are works in progress, inside their distinct Apple Note, inside Apple Notes. One thing you'll observe inside a note is that I will keep the most complete version of the lyrics right up the top of the note, but just underneath that is really the workshop. It's really the shedding floor. It's where I will write lyrics. It's where I'll work on a section. It's where I'll cut and paste things. It's where I'll reorder verses. It's where I'll cut half a chorus and paste it at the beginning of the song just to see what that flow is like. So below that is really where all the workings happen. But when I've made a decision and really feel like something is more solid, I will always keep the current final version of that song's lyrics right at the top of the song note so that I can find it immediately. And once there is a full draft of a song, something that is essentially singing it from beginning to end, I will always take that recording and put that, you can just drag and drop it on a desktop into the Apple Note where I've been working on the lyrics. So in that one note, in the development stage of a song, I have the most recent recording of the full song, not 100 different snippets of audio in that file, just the full recording of the song. I'll have the most up-to-date lyric right at the top, and then just underneath that, again, I've got all the workings for that song that I can always go back to if I'm continuing to work on the song and there's a line that doesn't feel right and I want to go back and see what else I had come up with. So I've got everything there in that file. So this Apple Note system in the Song Ideas folder really represents the workshop of a song idea and really has a system around where I can easily find and retrieve the most current version of the draft of the song. Stage 3 in the process of organizing your songs is really organizing your finished songs. So you could absolutely keep your finished songs right where they are. For me, I like to keep finished versions of songs in a different place altogether. And the reason for that is at this stage, when a song is finished, what does it mean for a song to be finished? Usually what it means for it to be finished is distinct from a final draft is that we are ready to share it for some reason with other people. So part of this system is putting the finished version of a song in its own location so that it doesn't get confused with all the works in progress, snippets and fragments of the workshop process for a song. So we want a separate location where we can easily find and share the most current finished version of a song. So the kinds of people we might be sharing it with are going to be producers, audio engineers, session musicians, co-writers, right? So there are other people who are going to be involved. So for me, one of the most important things is that it is easily shareable and easily retrievable in multiple different environments for me. So I use nothing more complex than Google Drive for this process. I organize my Google Drive by year and then by song. And of course, if there's an album project that I'm working on that year, I will also organize them within the album folder. So within the album folder, there will be the songs. And then within the song folder are all the most important shareable assets for that song. So there will be a demo version of that song recorded to a click for the most part. There will be the most recent version of the lyrics, and there will also be chord charts or lead sheets if that's something I need. So this is really a place where I store important final shareable assets in order to work the song with other people. And it also creates a really easy system. If there's some reason in the future, a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, that I need to access that information, it's all in one place. I'm not sifting through all the different drafts of a song. I've got really just the final version in this one location. The only other layer of detail that I will show you here is, of course, there's kind of a fourth stage to this organization process, which is once you've actually finished the production stage and you have the masters of your songs, I keep those in their own folder again for ease of retrieval. The most likely circumstance in my experience that I'm looking for those files is I'm only looking for those files. I'm not looking for the chord chart and the lyric sheet. I'm just looking for the audio file. So I keep all the master audio files in a master audio folder organized by year or project. Ultimately, a system of organization has to suit you, and by all means, try out this system. You might find that it is overly complex. You might find that it's only relevant to use a part of the system, but really keep in mind this idea that it should be fast for you to capture notes, but you want to organize your song ideas in some kind of system that's going to make the creative process faster and more efficient and more fun when you actually sit down to write a song. You want to remove as much friction as possible in terms of finding ideas that you captured a couple of weeks or months ago. And if you just have a small, easy, manageable system of organization that reflects the kinds of ideas that you're collecting, and that you're labeling those ideas in a simple but descriptive way that's going to allow you to find them pretty quickly, that's essentially the basis of an organization system. Happy writing. I'll see you next time.